Good morning and welcome to Lynn's Garden. This is our weekend walk around. I think I'll probably be doing it for YouTube this time. Weather is nasty, 49 degrees. We're here in the Pacific Northwest, and it is not nice out. Cushions are not out this morning because it is just too wet. We have drizzle. So, I guess we'll start off going around this way. A lot of my plants are passing by. They're not as beautiful. My pretty little sweet woodruff is pretty much going by, and that'll just be green ground cover. My Japanese pyrus has ceased to flower and is now going into a bud situation. But on this side of the pathway, I still have plenty of things that are in bloom and stuff that is coming up. This will be my penstemon, and that'll be a purplish red. And that has really produced over the winter. It has reseeded, and it was just a tiny little small batch last year. But this year it's going crazy. It's spreading. Have a little anemone that's blossomed. And I will have lots of daylilies when it gets warm enough for daylilies. So far this summer, we have not seen very much summer. Nobody's in the birdhouses right now. And going up this way, I have a very pretty columbine. And I have some coral bells, some iris that hasn't bloomed yet. And blossoming up, oh, and over here, that is a clematis that I got to climb the fence finally. And that'll be a light pale salmon color. And over here I have a very, very large California lilac, which is just beginning to bud up. I have one on the other side of the yard over by the white dogwood tree, and that will cease to bloom when this one starts, just in two different areas of the yard. Hopefully you can hear the birds. Pond is looking pretty this morning. I planted I planted a evergreen clematis in white that is right in the middle of the trellis there, and that is going crazy. So I'm hoping to see some blossoms on that later. And that little yellow flower to the left over there is actually a volunteer. It's what we call our wild buttercup out here in the Pacific Northwest. And they are invasive, so after it blooms, I have to kind of cut it down so that it isn't spreading all over the pond. And I'm seeing the last of my azalea and my sweet woodruff. And my coreopsis I will cut back, and it'll rebloom. But it's so nasty out here. Just really don't want to be out here today. And my hosta's coming along. I have some pretty blossoms on my hawthorn tree. This is the first time it's blossomed. A few of them anyway. And it's a very nice hot pink. And my rambling rose is still going great guns here. Very pretty yellow flowers. And I pruned that very heavily twice this year. I did it in the fall and I did it in the early spring. And it is just, it was beautifully full of blossoms. So I'm going to prune it heavily again next year. And my camellia has stopped blossoming long ago and is now in the growing spurt. I will be trimming that pretty soon because I don't want to let that get too big. I've got a lot of large plants here. And this is the fountain. And that is a huge dogwood. And it has really blossomed beautifully this year. Every year I think that it can't get any more beautiful, but it does. Down in this direction, I do have a pink dogwood that is just coming into bloom. And that'll be gorgeous as well, with lilacs behind it. My candy cane rose. And my Lavatera here is loaded with blossoms. And that was beautiful last year. The weather has been so cold and nasty. These flowers just haven't felt like blossoming. Things are not blossoming when they're supposed to. And over in the distance, that's my bronze 9-bark. Jasmine is on the swings. And that'll smell absolutely beautiful all summer long. And that's an evening center. So when you sit on the swings, you get the lovely aroma. And that's the last of my California lilac over on this side that's starting to wane a little bit. And I have my white rose that isn't blossoming too much yet. It's more of an heirloom type rose. It has the sweetest smell though. It hasn't been bred to the point of having no smell. Some of the roses are like that. And then here we have my double pink rose. And I'll see if I can get one of the blossoms close up here. Isn't that gorgeous? Absolutely beautiful. Reminds me of those flowers we used to make in school out of tissue paper. And my azalea down here is giving up the ghost. Some more sweet woodruff. And a lacy maple. Got to get out and deadhead my pansies. Another white dogwood. And And behind the dogwood over there, that big bush is a butterfly bush. I have a flowering azalea, or not azalea, hydrangea there. It's a climbing one. And I have weeds, and I have also little sprouts I've got to cut off of my pussy willow tree back here so that you can actually see the arborvitae. And this is an area I haven't quite tamed yet. But there's my rhubarb. And that's incredible. That's about ready to pick. And on the fence, I actually have some kiwis that are growing. There's a male and a female, they tell me back there, that I planted. And I've never had kiwis on them yet. I keep waiting. White lilacs, my purple ones have gone by. This is all going to be flagstone when I get it in. And I did a raised garden this year out of cinder blocks. Wood only rots here in the Pacific Northwest. It lasts about 5 years and then it disintegrates. So I thought, well, I'll build it out of cinder blocks. And I put my spices in the little cubby holes there. And blueberries and more rose. Birdhouses that are empty. And my neighbor Nancy is hammering something. She's yelling at me. And this is a newly planted area. Got some yellow petunias in my little planter. And I didn't buy any plants really this year except a couple of geraniums and some pansies for my boxes. Everything else, when I make a new garden, I just dig up things from my old garden and transplant them. And this is going to be gorgeous. This is full of blossoms, full of buds. And that's going to be a nice red rose. The roses love the wet, cool weather, but they flower the best when it's nice and hot. And I did start weeding in this back area. And all my columbine over there. But it's getting time to get out and finish the last of my weeding here, if it's ever nice enough, and to start pruning stuff back. But it's a nice, lovely walk through the garden. Oh, look at this. I do have my other clematis that's starting to bloom. Look at that. Pretty, pretty. And this has got a lot more blossoms on it this year as well. And then over here, all this greenery, this is phlox. And that will blossom up later on in the summer when it gets a little warmer, if it ever does. So now you have it from Lynn's Garden in Port Orchard, Washington. Hope everyone has a better summer than we're having right now. These are anemones that'll bloom later too. Bye for now.